With gymnosperms, remember it's not all pine trees, right? This is one such example. Here we have a gorgeous deciduous tree. That means it loses its leaves. This is Ginkgo biloba. In fact, it's the only living member of this entire phylum, the Ginkgo phyta, okay? Ginkgo biloba, you might wonder why it has that biloba name as its specific epithet, and here's why. It has nice bilobed leaves. See how they have that nice notch in the middle and they're almost heart-shaped for love? This is why they are so named. It has these amazing leaves that are characteristic of Ginkgo as we appreciate it. This is very widely planted in a lot of landscapes in major cities throughout the United States because it is quite resistant to air pollution. It's also, when it comes to economic botany, it's not only important because of the ornamentals, it's also really important because it is one of the top selling herbal remedies in the United States. In fact, most of you would be shocked to learn this, but Ginkgo biloba is the third largest seller in the United States of all of our herbal remedies, which again is a multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States. You probably wonder why it's so popular and why are so many people taking Ginkgo supplements. Well, here's the deal. People will oftentimes take Ginkgo supplements in hope to stave off dementia, and especially the most severe form of dementia for which there is no effective cure, and that is Alzheimer's disease. As we all know, Alzheimer's disease is a top 10 cause of death of American adults. There are very scant level of treatments that have some level of efficacy, but none of them are good enough to completely halt or certainly reverse the disease. So we don't have a highly effective treatment. We certainly don't have a cure. So what we've tried to do is we tried to thin our blood and hope in the idea of increasing blood flow to the brain, and that is the idea then behind enhancing cognitive performance. So yes, you heard it from me first, this tree is well known to elicit blood thinning properties, which is a kind of a big reminder here that a lot of our elderly population are also taking blood thinners to help prevent things like stroke. So that is a concern that when we take any herbal remedy, that almost all of them interact with prescription and over-the-counter drugs. Nonetheless, this is one of my favorite of all trees. I know I keep saying that all semester, oh, that's my favorite plant, that's my favorite plant. But this is truly one of my favorite trees. It's a gymnosperm. It helps us remind us that not all gymnosperms are evergreen, right? And certainly kind of a neat thing about this tree is that the male and the female reproductive structures are born on separate trees. So the male components are what we tend to prefer to plant over the female. Why, you ask? Is there sexism going on amongst people with, you know, city landscaping and whatnot? And the answer is absolutely not. It just happens to be that the females, their seeds, they reek of a stench. So down here on the ground, you guys are gonna see me pointing at these. These are mummified seeds from last year. They have a slight fleshy coating on them. And unfortunately, this smell here is repulsive. In fact, it's so repulsive that oftentimes cities that accidentally planted the females will go through and cut them down later because of the complaint. It basically smells like rotten butter. So it's kind of this horrible butyric acid smell that's emitted from these that nobody wants to really smell. Again, it kind of smells like rancid butter, which who lets butter go rancid? I don't. I love to eat it. But you can see why this is unfavorable then, because if these are planted over many sidewalks and many side streets, you can imagine the volatile odor is very unfavorable. Nonetheless, I say, hey, just overlook it. In fact, if you want to keep people off your property, perhaps like Frank Lloyd Wright in Chicago planting these all over his property back in the day, then maybe you should plant the females.